Hey there, Sins and Suffers family. All right, guys. So if you are a member of the Sticker Club of the month, what is that? That means I mail you beautiful stickers every month of our guests and myself. And also, you guys are in the drawing every month for a raffle. It's been a little while since we've done one, but we're going to catch up real quickly. This month's winner is Stephen Young from Pennsylvania. Buddy, you won. I'll be reaching out to you shortly and be mailing you some goodies from one of our sponsors, Organic, Tension, and Beyond Clothing. Once again, congratulations, Stephen. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. And if you're not a member of the Sticker Club, it's super easy to join. Go to sinsandsuffers.com, $5 a month. It's like buying me a beer. And you get to support a great podcast, get some cool stuff in the mail, and get a chance to win some cool swag. Thank you once again. Please like and subscribe if you aren't already doing. Share this podcast. And all right, let's get into this episode.
From the top. Drop that. Yeah. Feel the funk, y'all. Yeah. Feel the funk, y'all. Yeah. You lay back in the cut. What's up? What's up?
From Alpha to Omega, VHS to Beta, PlayStation to Sega, my skill is still greater. The sickest thing since VD, wicked like VG. Live my life crooked like the left finger on ET. Please believe me, this be the realest thing I ever wrote. Right after.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Sons and Suffers podcast. I am your host, Mario Stanley, and I am happy to be bringing this episode to you. I miss you guys. I know I've been a little MIA, but your boy's back, and here we go. I want to give two shout outs to Beyond Clothing, my sponsors that have been sponsoring me since the very beginning of me venturing out to become me. And I cannot tell you, every adventure, every trip, their gear has kept me warm, comfortable, and allowed me to succeed at everything I've ever wanted to do outdoors. Beyond Clothing, check them out online, beyondclothing.com. Use the promo code AlwaysReady, support this podcast, and prep yourself for your next trip. I mean, do yourself a favor. You spend all that money on rope, harnesses, shoes. You might as well check out that stuff that needs to go on your back. Next, in order to know where to go, we want to thank Gym Climber for being our sponsor. Gym Climber, affiliated with Climbing Magazine and every other magazine that you can imagine. They're going to give you all the tips and tricks you need to train and descend, whether you're climbing indoors or outdoors. It's got all the stuff you need, because honestly, I didn't really discover crags on the internet when I started. We read magazines. We read all these other things out there. Gym Climber, Rock and Ice, Alpinist, the Climbing Zine, all these things. This is how we got the beta. So don't miss out on that secret stash. Check them out. All right, so now to get into the episode. Today we have Chaz, good buddy of mine, been a van lifer for a minute. And we are going to demystify van life. And we're going to talk about the sweet and the salty of it all. And really, this is going to be just two dudes really nerding out. So if you're thinking about building a van, this is probably one of the best episodes for you. It's going to be us just talking shop, me selfishly asking questions, and kind of going from there. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you on the flip side. Chaz, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. If you can tell people who you are, where you're from, and what is your connection to the outdoors?
Yeah, my name is Chaz Ayoub. I'm from Dallas. I've lived here about 20 years, and I live in a van, and I really enjoy the rock climbing when I can, and I build vans for a living full-time for Sportsmobile and my company, Tiny Nomad Conversions.
Very nice. And you and I met,
probably about 3 or maybe almost 4 years ago.
It's been a while, man.
I started climbing at Summit Carrollton.
Yep.
And I really started doing that just so I could meet people. And honestly, if it wasn't for Climb Fit, I probably would not be into climbing or even on the path that I am now. to be honest with you.
That's funny. I never realized that. I mean, I knew you digged it, and you were always probably one of the most consistent and consistent. You were always one of the most consistent and solid people that we had, Ed. But I didn't really understand like it meant that to you. Why do you say that?
Because prior to that, I had just gotten out of a divorce, and I was really looking for my path to what I was doing in life and where I was going to go. And I wanted to meet new people and try new things, and rock climbing was one of them. And I didn't want to join a gym that didn't have some kind of program where I could learn how to rock climb, meet people, go outside and climb, that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that's kind of where that whole started.
Actually, I kind of remember that conversation a little bit. You talking about like how that was important to you, like you wanted to connect with people. And it's funny, I think we actually had that conversation upstairs in Carrollton or in Dallas. I just remember the horse mats being underneath our feet.
Yeah.
That conversation. That's awesome.
I miss that gym a lot.
Yeah, man. Carrollton.
A lot of nostalgia there.
Yeah. Old school exposure. Now Summit Carrollton is long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever knew gale force winds could rip a roof off and send, AC units down crashing through.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Wind shear is a real deal.
Wow.
Yeah. So, wow. So we did Climb Fit. You and I had a chance to train you. You climbed, you progressed pretty quickly. And then, you were currently now, I guess, when did you, kind of just diving into this, like when did you make the decision? When was the decision to move into a van? Because I know, how long have you been in your van? I guess
it's been about, I started building it about 2 years ago. And 3 months after I started building it, I put a bed in there and I started sleeping in it and pretty much living in it. So it's been about 2 years. And before that, I would say it's probably about 3 months before I actually started building it when I actually made the decision to do it. I was living in an apartment at the time, and rent was about to be raised, and there was no sight of income being raised whatsoever. So I was like, well, how can I spend less money? And from there on, I started researching vans, researching how to build them out. And at the time I was working at IKEA selling kitchen cabinetry, and there were people coming in looking for cabinets for their vans, and I'm started picking people's brains, and I'm like, okay, so what does it take to really build one of these things out? And from there, I started planning my own van, and next thing I knew, it was happening. I sold everything I owned in my apartment and moved into the van.
I remember you talking about living in the van, and you were telling me like the game changer for you was, and I know this is for everyone. Everyone is different. Because I know some people who live in hammocks in their vans, and they're like, until I had that, it was great, or until I had this. For you, it was your refrigerator. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. As soon as the fridge got in there, it felt livable because I could store food, I could store drinks in there, and that's when it really started to become more of a livable space.
Okay, that's right. And then have you had a chance to, I guess, between that time and moving in and all that, did you have a chance to chase any of your climbing aspirations? And actually, that's probably a better question to back up. Do you have any climbing aspirations that you've been trying to reach after?
I do. But lately, my forearm's been giving me hella trouble because I'm constantly drilling things, constantly using my right forearm for things at work, and it's just overuse. Oh, yeah. So like I haven't been able to train the way I want. I have been keeping up with the training schedule, but it hasn't been climbing related just because of my forearm.
That makes sense.
So once I get that situated and I'm not in pain anymore, I do want to continue climbing and getting back into it. We'll see what happened now is like with COVID and everything. I feel like everybody's left the gym or moved away or something. So all the people I used to climb with, like, are pretty much not here anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of people, I think a lot of people kicked out, and also a lot of people's jobs allowed them to move remote. Cause I know so many people now, they don't have to go back to work. They really, like, that's not a thing that they have to be concerned about.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, if I don't have to go to work, why am I going to stay in this concrete jungle?
Right. And if you remember prior, like right before COVID, I was paying you for training sessions.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, I forgot.
And that was, I was getting after it, and COVID hits, van life started taking shape like real quick because everybody was wanting to build out a van. I had a girl in Oklahoma wanted me to help her build out her van, and that's really, if it wasn't for that, I this whole business wouldn't have started. You know, it's so funny you say that because I've been thinking, have you ever seen the movie The Big Short? I feel like I have, but like I probably don't remember it. Okay, so the premise is it's about people shorting the market, like, you know, that whole thing with GameStop and all that other stuff. So the premise is you short the market, and I've always wondered who makes money during these things, like, you know. And so during COVID, I was like, okay, well, obviously trash companies are making more money than God, you know. And then alcohol sales were through the roof. Grocery stores couldn't keep wine and basic things on the shelf, like it was just impossible. And then there's all these little niche markets. Online courses obviously did well, but I've really been curious, and if anybody listening to this out there has, like, you know, if anybody is an economics major or something like that, and you have this like really tedious broken down graph, I want to nerd out with you because I really want to just like know like what really like industries, and within those industries, what sub industries have really done well, and understand these trends. But I foresaw like your business just skyrocketing. Yeah, it's really kind of crazy. So I work for Sportsmobile in Austin, and there has been no halt in van sales. In fact, it's only gone through the roof, and our wait time, our lead time over there is 2 years for a van. What was it before COVID? I think it was about a year, but now we've just gotten so busy that we're pushing out vans. We're pushing out at least 6 vans a month. That seems okay. I understand this is a custom build thing, and correct my ignorance for this, but that seems slow to me. Really? Like I figured, but I guess this is not like a massive factory or massive assembly. So we have about 30 people working on vans in there. How big and that's is the actually construction floor. So probably maybe 3,000 square feet, maybe. Oh, that's not as big as it's not huge. I thought it would be bigger. So in our facility, we fit about 8 vans in there at a time, and then we have our showroom where the finished vans go. So, and then we have around the whole perimeter, you'll see all the vans waiting to be built. Oh. Yeah. Okay. And then we have our stock vans as well, which you'll see out in the front of the office. So we have a lot of vans on site. How often do people just buy the stock ones and go? I don't know, because I don't really see the sales. Okay. But I do see some of the same vans sitting there for some time, but I see them switched out all the time too. Cause every time we work on a stock van, we're replacing one that was on the lot. So, okay. That makes sense. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't get to see it, but, we just finished 2 of them. So we just put 2 new ones out, and we're talking big old Mercedes-Benz dualies, like the longest wheelbase you can get. Are you guys doing the Mercedes 4-wheel drive ones? Oh yeah, 4x4s. Yep. Oh, those mamma jammas. Those are like what, $90,000, $80,000 vans? Yeah, like something like that. Mm-hmm. And then bare bones. And then you put a build inside of that, you're paying almost $200,000 for a build. Oh my gosh, it's funny. Hey mom, hey mom, I just want to let you know I made a big purchase. I'm an adult. Oh honey, what did you do? I spent $200,000. Oh, I can't wait to see your home. Oh, I'll bring it to you. Yeah, that'd be pretty accurate. No, I would say, so what I do and what Sportsmobile does are 2 entirely different things. Sportsmobile is usually they're geared towards retired people with a lot of money, and people who want to, you know, get out on the road after they've been working their whole life. Whereas me, I'm working with people who are about my age. I'm 36, and even in their 20s, who are wanting to do the same thing, but they want to skip the whole retirement part.
Yeah.
And they're just going straight to van life, which, and I'm also working with people who are more on a budget. They don't have, you know, the $100,000 to $200,000 to spend on a van. So you're looking at like 50, 70K with the builds that I do.
What is the most expensive build that you personally, or you've seen? What is the most expensive build that you have done and that you have worked on with Sports Mobile?
So I don't know the exact cost of everything,
Ballpark.
but probably around 150 to 200,000. And that's a Mercedes Sprinter 4x4, full shower, full kitchen, big ass fridge, solar, all that stuff.
Okay. It's not as, I was wondering if you'd get all the way up into like, you know, a little bit above $250,000, but
I have seen vans like that. And I want to say they're usually like an Econoline that's not in production anymore, 4x4, because that has to be converted. So you're spending more money on that. Then you're paying, you know.
Wait a minute. What do you mean it has to be converted? I thought you're converting the vans to begin with.
So it has to be converted to 4x4. So a lot of those vans don't come 4x4. So people want them 4x4. Now we don't do the Econolines a whole lot anymore.
Is there a reason why?
Just because it takes a lot of time, and you're not going to see them as often because they just don't make them anymore. Oh, okay. So the ones you see are going to have 150,000 miles on them already. They're pretty old.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah.
And then the projects that you've worked on, like ballpark, like biggest ticket.
So far about 50,000. And that's usually because like you're not going to see the average person putting all the roof racks and the boxes on the back and the extra wheel carriers and like all the extra stuff that you see on these extravagant builds. I mean, the average person isn't throwing that stuff on a van because it's just not practical, and it adds a lot more cost, adds a lot more weight. So they're usually sticking in the $50,000 range is what sense. I would say.
So what does the average person spend on the actual van? Because I imagine most of your clients are buying used vehicles.
Yeah. So used vehicles, I mean, I would say between 25 and 35,000.
That's actually not bad.
And that's like Transits, ProMasters, maybe an older Sprinter.
So we're talking somewhere between, for the actual build out, we're talking somewhere between 20 to 15 grand.
Yes. So
and
yes. And that's just materials. And then
that's not labor.
And then you'll include labor on top of that, which could be 10, 15, 20, depending on how much work it needs to be done.
Oh, wow. Now, do you do the work with your clients or do you do it all by yourself?
I do it with my clients typically.
Okay.
And that's kind of how, so like it's really geared towards people who, you know, they want to build their own van, but they don't have the know-how or expertise. And
that's scary.
Yeah. And I do most of the work, but they're there to help as well and learn about how their van is put together.
No, that's fair. I mean, you've seen my crappy little thing.
I actually haven't seen your van.
You haven't seen Galaxia?
No, I haven't seen Galaxia. I've seen the outside of it.
You'll have to go into Galaxia. I built Galaxia out on myself. And the only thing that stopped me from building Galaxia out was the engine, the number 6 cylinder started going out. And I didn't even realize that it already had a helo coil in it. Mm-hmm. And so that blew. And the engine can't keep compression. And I was just like, okay, I'm not going to finish building this thing out. And everyone's just like, why don't you drop a new engine in it? And like, I think you can understand this, but I want a van that I can stand up in.
Right.
I have to be able to.
And that's what most people want these days. And then like, well, and that's another thing is like, that's another thing that makes some of these sports mobiles so expensive is we put these pop tops on them so that you can sleep up top. That's $10,000 just for the pop top.
Yeah, it's funny. I never wanted to buy it because it was $10,000. And Fiberline, based out of California, I was always looking at them. But I was going to put a Fiberline top on my van. But when my engine went out, I stopped because that fiberline top will still cost me just under or over $8,000.
Yeah.
And granted, I wanted a hard top just because I've been in one of those pop tops before, and in like really windy conditions, they're a little loud.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, man. It's just, I mean, it's like you might as well just be in the movie Master and Commander, just like listen, I was chasing whales, but I didn't do it. And then now my van, and when I bought my van, it had 172.
Oh, damn.
170,000 miles on it. If you were to guess how many miles do you think it has on it right now? Every time I tell everybody, they're so impressed, and I'm like so proud of myself.
300,000.
More.
Oh my God. 400?
More.
5.
Just under.
Oh my God.
498,000 miles. 270,000.
And you haven't replaced the engine or anything.
Everything is original. The only thing that are new is tire, shocks, and suspension system. Other than that, original transmission, original engine, I babied that thing. I treated that thing better than I treat my own body. And and it finally died on me. And granted, it's a 40 Econoline E250. I can put a brand new engine in it. I just, at this point, it's like, I don't know. Every mechanic I've talked to, they're like, with that many miles, you should just go ahead and put a new engine in it.
I could see that.
And a transmission. Yeah. Because you're already under there. You're going to replace the water pump. You're going to do all the things. You might as well just do it all. But then I still don't have a van I can stand up in. And so like it takes that $2,600 tag all the way up to $4,600 or maybe almost $5,000. And then I still got to spend $8,000. And I'm like, I might as well just buy a brand new van.
Right.
But
that's already a high top.
Yeah. But then at the same time, I'm like, I already own this thing. Like I don't have car payments. I won't owe anything else. And it's like this big thing. I'm buying a new one. I plan on it. You and I have talked about this a billion times. But we'll have to make a visit next time you're in town to go see Galaxia.
Yeah, definitely. I want to check it out.
Yeah, it's got a dead deer antlers in it right now. It's what I use to ward off evil spirits.
Nice. But that's one thing that I would say is if people are looking to build a new van or build a van, I should say, mileage matters, and whether or not it's going to break down matters if you're going to live in that thing, because you don't want to have to be dealing with it.
Now, when you say live in it, is there a different version of live in it? Because when I think of live in it, I think of what I did in my van. I still had an apartment. I still lived, but my van was my weekend warrior vehicle.
Right.
So that's why it lasted so long, because I babied it. So, I would be working a couple weeks, and then I would take Thursday to Monday off. And I would drive straight to Washington State. I would like haul and do the whole thing. The whole, if you break it up, it's like a 4-day drive. And I would do the whole thing. And I do it a straight shot. 1.5 days, nonstop. And I would go do my thing. But I would park and not move. Yeah. Because I would bring bicycles. I would bring other things to get around. I definitely want a one wheel like you have now to get around.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want a rugged. I think they're called rugged. They're like these little electric like dirt bike thingies.
Haven't heard of that.
I can't remember. It's probably not called a rugged. Someone correct me on the internet, but the internet will shame me for this anyway, but whatever. But I definitely, that was how I made that thing last. So the question I want to ask you is, when you say live in it full time, are you talking about like the typical really like, I don't live anywhere else. I have no apartment. I have no girlfriend that has boyfriend that has a place for me to live. Like this is my full-time home. Are you talking like partial live in it?
I mean, it could be either way, but I mean, when I think of live in it, I mean, like I live in it full time, nowhere else to go, nothing else. Nobody else is letting me stay in front of their house or anything like that. Because I'm like 100% self-sufficient in that thing.
Yeah, which I'm super impressed by.
So to me, that's what live in it means to me. But I mean, it may mean something different to somebody else. So
that's fair.
If you're a weekend warrior, I mean, and you're living in it on the weekends, I mean, you're living in it. That's you know
fair.
What I mean?
So, Okay, so like kind of going back to the whole like building it out here, because I'm trying to put my mind in the mind of the people listening to this right now, and everyone's just like, oh, now maybe I should build a band. Maybe I should do this, and I've always said this to people, whether you're living in a van, a car, or anything else, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to, especially if you have a significant other or you're going to be bringing people. The thing I always tell people is like, no one else matters but you. You have to decide like what you can and cannot live without.
Right.
And for me, it was the big thing for me is like, I cannot live without some form of power. And that was me because I wanted to be able to charge my laptop. I wanted to be able to like read a book at night. And I didn't want to just have to wear a headlight. Like I didn't want that. I wanted actual lighting. And I know for everything is different. That's why I brought up your refrigerator. You like once you had your fridge, you're like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
And so obviously power is a part of that.
Right.
But would you say the same, or is there a step before that someone has to consider?
I think nowadays power is definitely probably the number one thing that people need, especially since people are relying on their phones.
Could we say that's a given then?
Yeah, it's pretty much a given.
So then outside of the givens, like, is there anything else that people should, it doesn't have to be so much of a thing, but think about? Like, is there a concept to think about?
I mean, you really got to think about how you're going to do your daily hygiene kind of stuff.
Oh.
I mean, I have a sink in there so I can brush my teeth in there and not have to like go into my place of work and start brushing my teeth all over the place. And I'm sure that people wouldn't appreciate that, but like you have to have a place that you have to have stuff in your space that makes it feel more like home, and you're not completely, straying from normal life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a sink is definitely one of those big things that most people want and have to have in their van.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's like brushing your teeth, washing your face, that kind of stuff is like kind of a basic thing that people.
I mean, some people don't give a crap about hygiene. Let's just be honest.
That's true.
I mean, not hating on you, boo boo. I just need to hit you with some Febreze when you walk up. So, but okay. So all in all, so I think we can agree then all in all is like, you have to decide what's important to you. Yeah. Most importantly, because,
sometimes people don't know what is important to them until they're actually living the van life.
Is there a way or a process or a way to people, like a thought experiment that you can think of, like for people to figure that out ahead of time?
Yeah. So like when I was thinking about building the van, I'm like, okay, so what is my daily routine? I wake up, I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I go to work, I come back, and a lot of times I'm just sitting on my couch. Yeah, I have my computer, I have my Netflix, I have my kitchen. What all do I need in my van to continue the same lifestyle? So like for me, it was like my music. I have to have my music studio. I have to have my recording stuff.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I was like, what are all the things that I actually use in my apartment on an every day-to-day basis?
How long did it take you to formulate that list?
It honestly didn't take me very long. I literally sat on my couch and I was like, okay, so I don't need this extra space between here in the bathroom or between the couch and my bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need all this extra space. Like, I can do all of this in a smaller space, and I can put everything that I do every day into this smaller space.
Okay.
So really it's how do you incorporate your lifestyle and your hobbies into your much smaller living space? And that's what I had to figure out. And, my recording studio is pretty much like my number one thing. Like I have to have that outlet for when I need it.
Yeah.
I have a TV in there. I have my laptop, but I hardly ever open my laptop anymore. I hardly turn my TV on. I'm usually just on my phone. If I want to watch Netflix, I'll just be on my phone. Like, so
it's funny you say that. So, I, in my van, it fell off right now, but I had, I took it off because it was falling off because I should have screwed it on, but I had screwed on a little block of wood and I had put a very strong magnet in there. And you know how you can put those little metal things in the back of your phone as a magnet?
Yeah.
I would wear Bluetooth headphones or wired headphones and I would lay flat on my back and just look up at my phone in my head. So I didn't, because my neck would always hurt looking.
Right.
So I could just lay flat. And I've decided whenever I build out a van, I want the TV seriously that's like straight above my bed so I can just lay flat on my back and watch.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I actually did. I put Velcro on my ceiling right above my bed. And I put Velcro on the back of my phone and I just Velcroed it to the ceiling.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
It didn't last very long because, you know, it was the middle of summer and Velcro, FYI, is not good in heat. That shit will fall off.
Oh my God. I want to pause for one quick second.
Yeah.
Okay. I have an idea.
I guess one thing that I can say is that I do live with my dog in my van. And for some people I can see that's maybe not doable, but especially in Texas. But I am about to invest heavily in an air conditioning system in my van.
I was up. So that actually kind of leads me to my next statement. How do you deal with summer?
It's hot. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, it's Texas, boo-boo. We all know. I just got back from Del Rio. In Del Rio, it is February. And it's like we're dealing with the Arctic blast that's coming down. And it is 76 degrees in Del Rio.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a lot like being in a sauna. And
So you're trimming down during the summer.
probably it's probably a little bit healthier in my van, even though it's really hot.
Oh my God, you must go through. You've got to like burn through your water supply so much.
Yeah, I definitely drink a lot more water. I try to keep one of those gallon jugs in my fridge just fully topped off.
I wouldn't even worry about keeping it in the fridge. I would just want room temperature water accessible. Like I would have just a 7-gallon jug.
Oh man, no, that having that cold water hit your throat like after you've been sitting in your hot ass van, it's a godsend.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I want to dive into your refrigerator because I've like secretly been like setting money aside for one of those things.
Okay.
Who makes your refrigerator? Just because I'm obsessed with it.
Okay,
And
so
who makes it? What size is it? And why did you go with what you have? And are there other alternatives?
So I have a Dometic CFX 75 dual zone. So that gives you the ability to have 2 freezers, 2 refrigerators, or one of each. And it is the second to largest size refrigerator that Dometic makes.
They have a 95, don't they?
Yeah, they have a 95. I went with the 75 because no other size was going to fit with my setup to where my seat height on my bench was at like a normal height.
Oh.
So I had to specifically go with that one, and I actually had to change my layout once I got it because I didn't realize how big it was. But yeah, I mean, I love that thing. I haven't been using it as much lately. I mean, I keep stuff in there.
Why?
So when COVID happened, it was like going to the grocery store was like going to a ghost town. There was no food. You couldn't buy anything. Not only that, I didn't want to get COVID. So like I was just eating out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I need to get back into that rhythm of cooking every day because I was cooking every day before COVID.
So if we can kind of like segue into cooking, because now I'm going to start picking your brain and I'm going to go ahead and tell my audience right now, I'm going to be real selfish. So I hope all the questions I'm about to ask are something that you want to know. And if it isn't, I don't care. As we've talked about this, I want to buy a new van and I want to build it out. Mm-hmm. But my biggest thing is my power constraints is the biggest thing I've been worried about because I want to ensure my long-term living.
Right.
And so what I have decided is there are 4 key components that I need in order to live. Refrigerator, I'm probably going to do the same one you have. The 95 liter just seems ridiculously too big. I'm not feeding a family of 7.
Right.
And I know in a van, you're like family of 7. You haven't seen that thing. I've seen it in real life. It's massive. You could go Jeffrey Dahmer and chop someone up and keep it in there. I know it's a little dark, but moving on. And then I want to be able to run an Instapot, and I want to be able to run the Ninja convection oven.
The Ninja convection oven. Okay.
Yeah. I have one here. I'll show it to you. And but the problem is the Ninja convection oven.
It's gonna be like 1,800 watts
on the dot.
Yep.
It is an 1,800 watt draw. The Instapot's a little less. So those are the big 3 items. And then the other one is my production studio. I think I can get in.
I think you can do all that.
Yeah. Low draw monitors. I want to build in a Mac Mini. I want it built into the van.
Okay.
And then 2 drop down monitors. I want my monitors to be attached to the shelving, but they drop down so they pull away and I can cover them. So I want to be able to cover them or put something over them or at least just hide them so I don't have to worry about backsplash when I'm cooking.
Right.
But
yeah,
because the reason why I want the convection oven and the Instapot is I want to be able to still meal prep.
Right.
And so for those of you who have used the air fryer / convection oven by Ninja, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can bake a turkey in record time. Kid you not. I made biscuits in 7 minutes. I mean, it blew my mind.
Yeah. And
I was just I can't live without this because, a normal oven, that thing's got to preheat for 20 minutes.
Right.
And
by the time it's preheated, all your electricity is going to be gone. So.
Yeah. And then so the only way around that is to get a gas one. And I really don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
I want a gas cooking stove, but I don't want anything else. But I think if I can figure out how to put in those 2 items,
yeah,
I'll still have a gas stove, but the only thing I'll use that for is to fry eggs.
Right.
And so those are the big power concerns that I have. And I want to be able to plug it into a grid and it's still, the key thing is I want to be able to plug it into a friend's home and the house charges the whole system or runs off of it. Preferably it does it simultaneously and automatically switches, but I can manually switch it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, that's all going to be automatic.
Yeah. So I want to be able to plug into the grid for water and electricity. So is what I'm asking for, as bougie as I think I am being, is that realistic? And what would I be looking at as far as breaking the bank in an electrical system?
Okay, so yes, you can do those things. Currently, I run a rice cooker in my van.
A car one or a home grade?
It's a home one.
Ooh,
it's a little tiny one. I mean, it's for one person.
Okay,
but now. My electrical system is probably not as robust as it could be to be running all those things, but I'm looking to upgrade. But I think you will be spending a pretty penny on your electrical system if you're wanting to do that. First of all, if you're hitting 1,800 watts, you're going to need a 3,000 watt inverter.
Now, when I say 18, now you are familiar with this device. Is it 1,800 watts consistent pull, or is it just peak 1,800 watts? That's the one thing I couldn't find.
Peak on max is going to be 1,800 watts.
So how do you find that information when you're looking at appliances online? Because it just said 1,800 watts, but it said I didn't see peak right away, but I couldn't figure out. I was because when you read online about build your van, do this, blah, 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 you want to know what the consistent pull is of all this stuff. I'm how do you figure out what the consistent pull is? It just says peak and low.
So, right. Exactly. So, I mean, it's pretty much implied that the max amount of wattage that you see listed is going to be peak. So anything you see that says 1,800 watts, that is the peak, running it on high.
So would a rule of thumb be cut that down by 1/4, and that's what you're actually doing?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how much you're cooking and what you're cooking and all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, they're just showing you what the maximum consumption would be out of that one.
But there's no way to find out actually like what the consistent pull would be.
Because there's no real consistent pull, because it's going to be based on whatever settings you have it on.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if you have it on low, it's going to be different than if you have it on medium or have it on high. And plus, you might be changing those while you're cooking. You might change it to medium. You might change it to low, depending on what you're cooking. So,
okay, boo-boo.
So
I
that's
did not realize.
So yeah, that's why they're. And I probably know this because I used to sell appliances.
Oh, I forgot about your IKEA life. Can we sidetrack real fast and talk about like you in a heavy metal band?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was in a metal band. I actually screamed for a metal band.
So, as one of the African American hip hop.
Oh, let's not forget that I also used to rap.
I know you do, boo boo. Listen, I know you're a slayer, straight killer. That's not my concern. But like, as one who did not grow up, like the heaviest I go is like Dio and maybe like Rammstein.
Okay.
Okay. Like I don't. Are there words?
Oh yeah, there's words.
How do you distinguish them?
You read the lyrics in the booklet.
Then why do you go to listen?
I think it's more about the high emotions and
you're screaming at me. Of course there's high emotions.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just
I mean, I can get on listen, I know it's hard to believe, but I can get on board with like 5 lead guitars. It was interesting. I mean, do I think it's a little much? Yeah, but I mean, it's cool in its own right.
Well, when you're young and an adolescent, you kind of get pissed off of the world, and you just have to blare your screaming heavy metal music to.
But there are adults
to get through the day
that are still doing this screaming and 12 lead guitars.
Yeah, you're definitely right. But you know what? As I've gotten older, like I've leaned a lot more towards instrumental stuff.
That's fair. Yeah.
And a lot of time, like I have to really be in the mood to listen to some heavy metal. And there are times where I'm still in that mood, but it's not consistently. Like there'll be times when something comes on my radio, I'm like, oh, I got to turn this shit off. I'm just not in the mood for this.
I usually type in like angry heavy metal on Spotify. Like if I'm getting pissed on a boulder in the gym, and I'm just like, I need something to just like distract me of all that. And then I'm always reminded of, I think it's either American Beauty or this movie with
American Beauty. Yeah.
American Beauty is a great movie. Or what is his name? Oh, the guy who played Green Lantern.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. He also played, I can't remember the name of this movie. A great movie. One of the best movies I've ever seen him in. But he plays, and someone will know this. And yeah, all my friends who know I'm a cinephile, I know I'm just being like super sacrilegious not being able to quote this, so I'm super sorry. Not really, but it's a scene where he plays like this banker or accountant, and he basically fixes people's books. And he's autistic, and his dad was like this military guy and beat the shit out of him, but he's on the spectrum, and he's a super high functioning, but he understands numbers, blah blah blah. But there's this scene where like he takes this wooden rod and he just rubs his shins to the point where they're raw and causing pain, and he blares this heavy metal music to like drown out the pain. And it's like when I get on like super uncomfortable, painful feet in the gym, because I can grab onto like holds with my fingers, like those don't bother me. Like credit cards, super sharp holds. I mean, I love climbing on sharp, nasty limestone, and anyone who climbs on limestone knows what I mean. You've been to Last Chance with us. Yeah. So like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is terrible.
I didn't go to Last Chance, but I have been to what Reimer's Ranch has limestone as well.
Oh yeah, you've been to Rogers too.
Rogers.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that pain is real. On my fingers, great, but on my toes, I have a hard time bearing with it. And like in the gym, sometimes like when I got to get on painful slab, and I know I'm gonna just like cheese grade / bust my shin / headbutt the wall, I'm just like. So I'm so sorry for everyone I did that. That also, I probably did a really terrible job in screamer music.
I'll be honest, like listening to metal music, like while I'm working out is pretty motivating.
I can't do that. I'm really weird. I listen to like sappy R&B, or
Really?
Yeah, or I'm not gonna lie, I listen to like Katy Perry or Taylor Swift sometimes.
I mean, I change it up a little bit, but you know, when I'm like really deep into my workout gains, like some heavy metal music keeps me going for sure.
All right, let's get back to the reality here. But back to vans, because that's why we're here. Well, we're here because you're awesome. That's really what we're doing. But okay, so my power consumptions are to that. So like Pretty Penny, you said like ballpark. Am I talking like $5,000?
You could probably do it for $5,000. I think you could get it. I think you could get it done.
No, when you say probably, I mean what I just heard in my head.
I think you could
that's
get
the low end of
more
the spectrum.
I think you could get more than you need.
Because I want more than I mean.
Now, you know, it's hard to say because
I thought you always want more power than you're going to draw. Like everywhere I read that says if you're going to be pulling 2,000 watts, you need to make sure you have 3,000 watts available.
I mean,
is that not a thing? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying this episode. I want to thank our sponsors, Kaya Climbing, the Kaya Climbing app. It is a great app to get all the beta and all the stoke you need for your climbs, but it has one fundamental feature that allows you to become the best climber you can possibly be. You can track and see all your past climbs. You upload your videos. You can be that person keeping it on your phone, no bueno, but upload all your videos, have a history, watch yourself get better. You are the best coach you have, and unless you can teleport and see yourself and control time like Doctor Strange, it ain't gonna help you. So download Kaya today and do the best thing you can do for your own personal climbing. All right, let's get back to
it. So when I live in my van, I'm very conservative with my power. Like, I know when it's time to be charging and when I should stop and when I should turn off electrical equipment in the van when I can see how much solar I'm pulling in, that kind of thing. But I mean, with lithium, it's starting to get cheaper. And I think that's going to be your biggest cost is your batteries.
Yeah, I think most people who are looking at vans realize that right away. And you just like, I've already decided like you have to fork out the money for your.
I think that's one of the most important things is like having a good electrical system. Because like if you go cheap, you're going to just replace the things that you put in there. Like eventually. And you can make your system as robust and as inexpensive as you want. Like there's so many components you can add to it that may or may not be necessary for what you're doing. But, you know, like, you know, there's this brand Victron and they're one of the leaders in coming out with the you know, the biggest high tech stuff that's out there. Okay. And, already just because of the name, you're spending more for their products. But, you know, they throw in these battery protects and the BMS system, which is your battery management system, which you need if you have a lithium bank. So when you add components, I mean, you can make it really expensive or you can be bare bones with it too. Okay. Depending on your knowledge base. Because like, so like with my system, like I don't have a BMS or anything to monitor my battery state. I do have a voltmeter, so I know how to read a voltmeter. And when you know how to read a voltmeter, you know how much power you have left, sort of. And I say sort of because when things are on in the van, you can watch your voltmeter drop. Like when my compressor and my refrigerator goes on, I know it's going to drop by 0.2. Or if I plug my phone in, I know it's going to drop by like 0.1. If I turn my fans on, it's going to drop by however much, you know what I mean? So, so if you're running everything in your van, you're going to see a significant pull on your voltmeter.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So moving on from electricity, let's talk sleeping arrangements here. Mm-hmm. So, I have just under a queen size bed in my van right now. Mm-hmm. Works really great for me. I have seen a lot of bare bones sleeping arrangements as far as like hammocks to actual beds to retractable beds that go up and down to motorized ones of those and manual cranks of those, and then fold away, put away beds. Like, in your opinion, to maximize storage or maximize that, or is it really just depend on the person? Like, what is the best bang for buck for bed system? Is it one of the ones that like you can collapse and turn into like
my opinion,
chairs, seating area? What?
My opinion is a fixed bed.
Why?
Because you have the maximum amount of storage underneath your bed. Now, for me, it's different because I store all my tools under my bed. So I have a table saw in there. I've got a miter saw. I've got I can build a van out of my van. So I need all that extra storage. Now, say I did like a dinette setup in the back, I'm not going to have quite as much storage. Or if I just had like a little gaucho where it's like a couch that folds out into a bed,
okay,
I'm not going to have that hidden away storage that you would have with a fixed bed.
So I think it depends on the person's profession or what they're
It could,
doing.
yeah. And like if you're throwing bikes in there and stuff, a lot of people, they want to be able to adjust their bed for a bike in there. I'm not one of those people. That's why I have a one wheel.
Yep.
So I can just jump out of the van and go. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on your lifestyle, what you need in there. Like people like to carry their surfboards and stuff. I mean, things like that.
Imagine people to throw that shit on the back or the top. But I guess
you would think, yeah. But like I see a lot of people, like people who surf, they'll put it inside the van on their ceiling.
Yeah,
and it'll just kind of
that setup. That's kind of cool, but
Yeah.
I'm always afraid I'd whack my head on it.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you put it on your roof and like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of roof racks.
Why?
I also like to go through drive-thrus, so I really like Whataburger.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, we are in Texas, home of the honey butter chicken biscuit. Thank you, Jesus. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not a big plus. Like, I mean, if you already have a big van, I mean, I've seen a lot of roof racks empty. I don't see a lot of stuff on them.
Well, I mean, because you're only really, in my opinion, a roof rack is supposed to be there when you need it. You're not
Right.
supposed to be utilizing it all the time because, one, let's just be honest, your fuel mileage sucks in a van. So we all know that.
It can.
But like when you put stuff up there, it goes even worse.
Yeah, because you're not as aerodynamic when you're driving.
So that makes it, because because I want a roof rack, but the main reason why I want a roof rack is because I want to be able to like have a setup where I can just lay up there and hang out and read a book.
Yeah, and that is something that would be really cool to have a little deck up there. Mm-hmm. And then, but you also have to keep in mind solar. Like if you have solar up there, you're gonna have to put that on top of that rack, so that's gonna eat up a lot of your space.
Oh, you can't put it underneath?
No, how's it gonna pull?
Well, I mean, it's not like it's a solid thing. It has grids, but I guess that.
But it has to have the sun directly beaming on it in order for it.
So no shades, no nothing.
Right. In fact, there's different ways to hook up your solar panels, series or parallel. So if you're in series and you get a little bit of shade on just part of one of your panels, all your panels are going out.
Oh.
So if you hook it up in parallel, each individual cell is going to be able to pull in sunlight. So whether part of it is covered by leaves or whatever, or a tree, you can still pull in something.
Which one is more efficient for powering your system?
The more efficient way, it depends on how many solar panels you have.
So let's say I have 3.
If you have 3 solar panels, personally, I'd probably put it in parallel, but series parallel is the way to go. So I would only do that if you had 3 or more. So you would have, say you have 4 panels. You have 2 hooked up in series and another 2 hooked up in series, and then that goes in parallel. That's going to be the most efficient way. So if you are under shade or anything, something lands on your roof, covers part of your panel, you're still able to pull from your other 2 panels on the roof.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so series are parallel. All right.
That's a very in-depth discussion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you lost me, and
I probably lost most people.
Yeah, no, that's like real deep. Yeah, man. Like we can talk about quantum physics later. Okay, so let's move on to the kitchen. So we already discussed like everyone wants a sink. That's it. I am assuming that everybody wants a deep sink, not just like this little bowl thing. Like everybody wants like a deep sink.
You would think.
Well,
That's what I prefer.
well, but why wouldn't they? I mean, you got to do dishes, you got to do stuff if you want to wash things, and then
I
also,
agree.
and also, the water system. Would you recommend a electric water pump or a manual pump?
I would recommend electric water pump.
Why?
It's because it's more like being in a house, like, and it's what you're going to be used to. However, you can still conserve water. If you just barely tap the faucet open, I mean, it'll pump very slow and give you a little trickle bit of water. But with the whole pump thing, I mean, like the manual pump thing, I don't know. It just doesn't feel natural to me. I mean,
I'm into that. So then what do you do with your gray matter? Or I've heard some people just let it run right out of the car, or I'm assuming that's not kosher. And
I mean, yes and no. I mean, so with gray water, it's different.
Dish soap in there, so it's like it's not like everybody uses Dawn.
Right. And, if you are living in a van, you should be using biodegradable stuff so that when you do have to dump it, you're not destroying the environment.
Can we jump into that actually real quick? So what are some like big no-nos for people who are moving into the van? Like, don't buy Dawn. You should be buying biodegradable this. Like, what are things that you think, like, after living in a van are like, you should not you should be doing? Do
not leave your trash anywhere but in your van or in a trash can. I mean, there has been places where there's been climbing gyms, like even in Colorado, where, you go in and be like, hey, what's the van life policy here? Can I park here overnight? Oh, no, we had somebody leave trash out in the parking lot, so we don't allow it anymore. Really? So, yeah.
Like a trash bag?
Yeah. So, that kills it for everybody else who's living this whole kind of lifestyle.
That doesn't even seem like a thing. Like who? Like
exactly.
Really?
You would be surprised. People...
Like, I mean, but goddamn, like leave no trace. Like,
and that's
does
the
it
thing.
Not transfer?
I mean, some people don't follow those rules.
Well, fuck all y'all.
Right. I mean,
and if you listen to my podcast, you can unlisten right now. Don't join my sticker club. Don't be I'll be your friend, but I'm gonna call you an asshole. But fuck all y'all.
But when it comes to gray water and stuff, you can dump it in a flower bed as long as you're using biodegradable stuff. It's actually good for plants to eat that stuff up because there are enzymes and stuff that help the plants grow. A lot of people don't know that, or it can still be frowned upon. Don't dump your gray water around people, kind of be discreet about it because it is.
Can we define what gray water is? Because I just realized once you said that and you're like, some is biodegradable, I don't know what gray water is. And I think
gray water is typically going to be your dirty dishwater that comes out of your sink. So it's not going to be poopy water or any of that. It's going to be black water. Poopy water, all that stuff, that's black water.
I feel slightly infringed upon because they call it black water. Why can't they just call it poopy
I don't
water?
know.
I mean, come on, my
because
brother.
it's probably black when it comes out.
Okay, I'm over it.
Honestly, if you look at gray water, it actually is gray when it comes out.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So it actually does make sense why they would call it that.
Okay, fine. Long as they don't call it brown, I'm okay.
But you usually don't see a black water tank on a van. It's not very common. Plus that's disgusting.
Is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and that's disgusting.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody wants to clean up their own shit.
So moving on to, before we move on though, is there any other things that's like a no-no? So like, don't leave, manage your trash, pack it in, pack it out.
Okay. And then I will say another thing.
Let's talk about that climbing drip, playboys and playgirls. All of you are so unique and so special. So why not show it? How many times have you gone out, that same Mad Rock Pad, that same Metolius, which are great companies? My favorite thing about organic is how you can customize all your gear and you can have something that is unique to you. And you know what gear belongs to you, which is important. So go check them out, organicclimbing.com. And when you check out, type in Sends and Suffers Podcast to support this podcast.
And this comes from probably being in a lot of the van life groups on Facebook and stuff. People don't like it when you just pull up right next to them and say, this is your home for the night, because people do like their space, especially now with social distancing and everything.
I don't.
So say you see another van that's parked in a parking lot and you're going to go stay there for the night too. Well, don't pull up right next to them. Let them have their privacy. Don't, just be respectful, I guess.
So what is too close? Because I have definitely seen another van, and my rule of thumb has always been, I want to be 3 rows over.
Yeah.
But I want to be in line of sight. So meaning if I poke my head out into the cockpit, if they're gone, or if I hear a commotion and they're parking and they're lighted up and moving out, I want to know that I'm like, okay, up, it's time to go.
No, that's totally acceptable. But say you have an open parking lot, you see this person parked there, don't park in the spot right next to them and you'd be all up in their space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I guess people just don't think about it. Like, you're in your van, you have your own privacy.
You do.
But it's not the same. It's like it's like, your van is an extension of you. And so can we just go ahead and say a rule of thumb is this is probably excessive, but I'd rather be excessive than minimum in this. 3 parking spaces, a diameter would be an acceptable range. Like 3 parking spaces away in any direction would be acceptable.
Yeah. And it depends on the situation too, but and it's another thing if you end up talking to that person and, hitting it off and becoming friends, that's a whole nother thing. But, if it's, an area you don't know, or, you're traveling, just don't park right next to that person.
Okay, cool. Anything else? I mean, let them have it.
I mean, really the biggest thing is leaving no trace, and don't hang out in areas and just have your doors wide open, cooking outside, pulling up to a Walmart parking lot, taking all your stuff out and cooking in the parking lot. That's just not cool. It's disrespectful. Yeah. Basically you got to keep it low key.
So you're talking about in an urban setting. So
in an urban setting, because that's pretty much what I'm used to.
So really what we're talking about is you need to understand camp mode,
right?
Backcountry
versus
front country.
Right, exactly.
So that's what we learned that in Wolfers. Front country medicine is very different from backcountry medicine. Because when I was doing my Wolfers, there was a guy who was a doctor and a paramedic in there, and they were like, you would never do this. You would never do this. They would always say in the middle of the class, you would never do this. And our instructor would be like, how close is the closest hospital? And they would be like, what? And they would get super quiet. They'd be like, so what we do in the back country is very different than what we do in the front country.
Right, exactly.
And so I think that's the concept that we really have to remember. Front country in that urban jungle, and then wild, wild west, And,
I think a lot of people don't realize how big van life is and how common it actually is. When you're actually living the van life, notice it everywhere.
Oh, I do.
And it's a subculture that is not talked about. And I feel like it's a lot of people don't know about it. It's actually a very large subculture of the United States. And I think people don't realize that.
Yeah. No, I want to get back into it. That's kind of my goal, my hope, and my dream to eventually get back into it, because I notice it even here in Dallas. I can drive around and I'll see in neighborhoods.
Oh yeah.
That I'm like, oh yeah, they're van lifing it for the night.
Yeah.
They're just and I'll look at the van and I'll look at it. I'll look at the license plates. I'll look at the rig around. I'll kind of slow down and drive it. I'm like, oh, they're just passing through.
Right.
And then, or if it's different, you can kind of tell, I'm like, okay, they might be irregular.
Right.
And it's even then, so I'll go ahead and say this, and I don't know if this is still true, but I don't share my van locations. There are certain spots in Dallas and Fort Worth and Arlington and Irving that I know I can camp at least van life's overnight for 2 nights in a row, max.
Right.
But preferably 24 hours, that I know that I can park up in. I won't be bothered. I won't have anything. Some require earplugs and a face mask because of the amount of light and everything, light pollution and sound.
Right.
You know, but I don't share those locations with people. I don't. And like, those are like pretty hidden secrets for me. And if you know them, great. Like if I see you there, it's kind of like this, like we see each other and it's like this unspoken sly eye, like,
Right.
okay, I see you. Cool. And then if we're in the gym, like, and we see each other, if we're both climbers, like, it's like you never talk about it. And there's a couple spaces when I was living in my van full time. I used to live in a Ford Aerostar full time. Okay. And there were a couple people that I saw in much nicer vans than me, but like, they saw my van and they were like, your van, like one guy was like, well, your van is so shitty, it was easy to spot. So he's like, I knew it was you. So I figured it was a cool spot to be. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, don't tell anybody.
Well, I will say the more dirtbag your van is, the more you stand out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a Ford Aerostar, bright red. It was called the Red Rocket, not by choice. It was given that name. Thank you, Kenzie Davis.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so that's like the other thing that I would say, like, you don't share your parking secrets and or anything else like that. And I think the most efficient thing to do, from being a former van lifer, not a retiree, just out of the game right now, is find a friend or find someone that will allow you to rent their driveway. Like, I cannot tell you how many friends let me rent their driveway for like $100 a month.
Yeah. Well, there's apps that people will lend out their driveways to van lifers. I forget what the app is called. I'm gonna have to look that up. But there's a bunch of different apps that people actually. It's like a. What are the couch surfer? Yeah, it's like couch surfer for van life. That actually does exist.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I used to rent a friend's driveway out for $100 a month, and he was like, "Yeah, $100 a month and walk my dog every day." And I walked his dog, and I started running with his dog, and then he got pissed because his dog got pissed because he wouldn't go as far as I would, because I would go like full out, like small, barely like 3 miles, 4 miles with his dog, walk/run, and his dog just got like super fit, and he was still out of shape. But boo boo, you can keep up. You know who you are. But that was a thing, and so I did that for a very, very, very long time, and just rented the driveway and had my own space, and it was very efficient and it was very good, and I liked it a lot. The only thing is you definitely got to find someone who has a level driveway.
Yeah. Ugh. And I'm kind of the opposite. Like, people will offer me a place to stay, or like, hey, you can stay in my bed. Like, I have an extra bedroom you can stay in.
No,
and I'm like, and I'm always like the person who's like, I'm just gonna stay in my van, because like to me it's like accepting a handout, and I'm just like not into that. I don't know what it is, but like, and it's like, hey, you can use my shower. Now I will take some free laundry doings for
I'll take a shower and a laundry
for sure, and I will take a shower from time to time, but a lot of the times, like, I just like, I don't want to be that moocher who's like living in his van.
It's so funny you say that, because I would never consider a shower and laundry a moocher. Now, the bed thing, I don't consider it mooching. Yeah. I consider it's just like, it's not your setup. It's right. Like, it's a prime example. Okay, everyone listening to this right now will understand the statement I'm about to say. It's like asking someone to pack up your entire camp set. Like, no.
No, yeah, for sure.
No. Like, do not touch my tent. Do not touch my kitchen. Do not like, you don't know where it goes.
It's like, I already have all my stuff in my van. So
yeah, and it's like, I've had someone pack up my kitchen before, my camp kitchen, and I literally just spent, like, I didn't have the heart and soul to tell them that I was like, you just ruined this whole thing. And I just put it in the car. I drove back to Dallas. I was like, hey, great, cool. Let them go. And then I went back home and I like ripped the whole thing apart and repacked it. And I was so angry that like, I just let that happen. But like you just get in the way.
Right.
And it's like, I don't think it's an issue of like mooching. I think it's an issue of like, you have a ritual, you have a routine,
right.
You have things set up, and this just makes it easy.
And it's not that I wouldn't take a free parking space like if I'm traveling, because I've definitely stayed in front of friends' houses. But I don't want to be. I don't want it to be like a regular thing where I'm like depending on your driveway and like depending on somebody else, because like I like to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
It's independence.
Okay, so then let's move on to entertainment.
Yeah.
So you have your music studio.
Yes.
I want to eventually have my production studio, which is not really entertainment. It's more work, but
it's entertainment. I mean, podcasts are entertainment.
Yeah, we're doing that now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. How, I guess that's really to each his own. Like some people just need their phone, or would you encourage people to kind of go all out on entertainment, or would you encourage people to go all out on other areas? Like we understand you have to go all out on electrical. You have to go all out on your sink and different things that like just the givens.
I would say if your livelihood depends on it, then I would go all in.
Okay.
It just depends. It depends on what you do,
Okay. That makes sense. And then I guess the cockpit, which is virtually another room. It's the only other room.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in my opinion, it's the only other room because it's the only thing that you literally close off unless you want to light bleed and you want to be woken up by every car that's passing by.
Right.
Like it's
me personally. So like I have a blackout curtain.
Yep.
Where, sometimes I have the window blocks to like block out the windows
in the front of the van.
Yeah.
So
but
I never did that. I always had a blackout curtain because I didn't want people to assume that someone is in there. I never blocked that out.
So, I rarely use my blackout window shrouds or whatever, because it's a dead giveaway that somebody's sleeping in there.
Yeah.
So with my blackout curtain, it looks like it's just an empty van. So and then my van already looks like it's pretty stealth. So it's like nobody really knows anybody's in there.
So it's funny you say that. So what I do is I use my window shades during the day, but I don't use them at night. I just use the blackout curtain because I want to protect the console and the dash as much as possible.
I do use mine in the summer.
Yeah, you have to. It's just so hot.
And not only that, it keeps all that heat out of the van. So like when I get in the van, it's not nearly as hot. So yeah. And then, I do have a swivel seat in the front. So
the passenger?
Yeah. So whenever I am parked up for a little bit, I will swivel my seat around and I'll block out the windows just to make it feel like there's more space, which it does give you more space, really.
So I saw the coolest thing a couple years back. This guy had his swivel seat in the passenger, but it was also retractable. So you could swivel the seat around.
So it's like a lazy boy?
Well, kind of. So when I mean retractable, so imagine, you know how your refrigerator pulls out on a track?
Oh, yeah.
He could literally swivel the seat around, pull it out on a track so the blackout curtains went behind the passenger seat.
I can do that too.
And he pulled it out, and I was just like, oh, that's baller.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. And he said it was because when he pulled his blackout curtains, he didn't want to have to wrap it around that seat.
Yeah.
It looked obvious.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
And so he got it set up. And then my next question, I was like, is this like driver friendly approved for like seatbelts? And he was like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. I was like, okay.
Well, technically you should not be driving with your seat turned around. We actually have to put warning signs in our sportsmobiles whenever we build them, because you're not supposed to be sitting. You're supposed to be sitting forward because you get in a wreck and that seat can move.
Oh,
bad things can happen. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, goddamn. Okay. So then, so we've talked about beds, we talked about kitchens, we talked about electricity, we talked about entertainment, we talked about the cockpit. Actually, can we revisit the cockpit real quick?
Yeah.
So let's talk connectivity. Like,
gotta have Bluetooth.
Amen, brother. What about Wi-Fi?
Okay, that's a great topic. So I am still on the search for a wireless connectivity that is unlimited. Because right now, yes, I can tether my phone and have hotspot, but I need consistent high speed internet sometimes.
So what about just like, so there's this thing, I think I've sent it to you, like rangefinder and all this other stuff. Like you can pick up internet from 2 miles away. I mean, it's probably still gonna suck, but
So yeah,
but like what about just, so we're talking urban stealth camping here. You know, what about just maybe parking 2 blocks away from a homie's house that you have the Wi-Fi connection to, and
Right.
you let them know that like, hey, I'm nearby, tap it in. Is there a setup where
Yes.
you can just like I have just accepted that like having full-time connectivity without paying for a massive hotspot from Verizon or some big company, you just have to accept that you need a repeater system that is big enough that can go far enough where you can pick up like, you know, a friend's or some business or your job
Right.
or whatever service,
yeah.
and
So
go from there.
there's these devices called a WeBoost, and they will boost your cell signal that you're getting, and I believe they will also boost Wi-Fi signals.
Wi-Fi signals coming towards you or Wi-Fi signals going out?
Going towards you.
So like now, but what if the Wi-Fi signal coming towards you is weak to begin with?
It'll strengthen it basically. So it's going to make it so that even though you can barely get it now, once you turn your WeBoost on, it should be able to magnify that signal.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. And so, so we got WeBoost, and
I'm sure there's other competitors on the market that do the same kind of thing.
dude,
but
that's a black hole. I've looked on Reddit and people say some weird stuff, and people are like, you can build this and this, and if you know a little coding, if you know this, and I'm like,
anybody got time for that?
no.
We're van lifers.
No, I want to buy it and go, baby. Okay, cool. So then now we have connectivity, and then Bluetooth. But what about smart connectivity? Like, so for example, Google just announced their partnership with Ford. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
a couple days ago. So Google announced their partnership with Ford, that they're going to have a full connectivity with Google products with Ford.
Oh my
by
God.
2024, and then that's also. And then Apple, I think, announced their partnership, not with Tesla, but the other company that's like some other company.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that full partnership is supposed to be come out by 2023 or 2025. And so these are all these big things. And so let's talk in the world of connectivity. You know, like, is there a way for me to like basically connect my phone, not just through Bluetooth, but my phone is like a part, like if I want to basically have Alexa
Right.
in my van, is that possible?
Yes, you're going to have a standalone hotspot.
So
Now,
does that hotspot have to be connected to the internet? Because from what I
Yes.
understand, Alexa. Okay, so that's
you're going to have constant connectivity.
So then
which
there's
you
the
can,
problem.
you can, and you know, AT&T does have a way to have unlimited internet in your van. It's just really expensive. It's not cheap.
define expensive.
Yeah, it's like $150 a month.
I mean, that's not bad if your van is paid
It's not
off.
like it, and if you're dependent on it for work, that's not bad, and because you need it. But for the average person who doesn't, work from their van,
And is that like a system that you have to build into it?
No, I think no, it's going to be a device that you just plug in and go.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's simple. Okay, and so that's the connectivity, and then because I hate Alexa. Well, I don't say I hate Alexa.
But that is convenient because you'd be like, "Hey Alexa, what's the weather like today?"
Yeah,
and
I mean, like I'm just vaguely creeped out about things listening to me in my car, in my van. I mean, I know my phone does it right now, and now Google's hiring an assassin to murder me, but it's okay. Yeah, that's just something that. But I've been very curious about connectivity. Okay, so we talked about connectivity,
and I think with all that, I think the next couple years, it's going to become a lot easier to do all that, especially with all these deals that Google and whatever that other company is.
So I have to ask you a real question here.
Yeah.
The moment a self-driving van comes available, are you going to ditch your van and buy that other one?
So here's the thing about electric vehicles, because that would that's definitely going to be an electric vehicle type thing.
No, it's not. That's the thing with Ford. That's the thing with Ford. Like, they're talking about having driver assistance, meaning it will drive on the highway by itself, and it's not electric. It's still gasoline.
If I can add that to my van, I'm adding it to it. Because I will go on road trips and hang out in the back of my van while my van is driving itself.
That's technically not allowed. You're supposed to be in the passenger seat. So Ford, if you're listening to this podcast and you have an ADAP kit, I will happily stay in my passenger seat and let my van drive me to where I need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're available. We're helping you out. If you need some people to make it look good.
But that's that's another thing we should talk about, though, is electric vehicles. These electric vehicles don't have alternators, so you can't charge your battery system while you're driving.
But can you not put one in?
No, because it needs a combustible engine to use the alternator.
The alternator doesn't run on a combustible engine. Alternator has a belt on it. That what makes an alternator run.
Right, but what's making that run? What's making that belt move is...
Well, the belt, all you have to do is connect it to one of the direct drive motors that goes to the wheels.
If they can do that and put an alternator in there, then I am all for getting an electric van.
If Elon Musk can shoot a goddamn car into space, they can figure it out. I mean, come on, boo-boos. Come on, boo-boos. Like, you need to figure this out.
But I was arguing with somebody on Facebook, and I was like... They were talking about how they would hook their alternator to their battery, their electric vehicle battery to give them
terrible idea.
Well, yeah, they were saying to give them unlimited range on their vehicle, and I was like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Bad science. Like, stop listening to Fox.
Exactly.
Some parts of Fox are good, some parts of Fox are bad, but that's bad Fox. Okay, moving on. No, but that's fake science. It doesn't work that way.
That's what I told him.
It works.
That's what I told him.
Yeah, no, I mean, so my thought has always been like, you might be able to tether it to a direct drive. You might have to get, there might have to be a software patch to understand that one direct drive has a little bit more stress on it because it has a it has more tension based on it,
right?
For that, but this is not unreasonable. Like, this is not like, this is a simple problem to fix. And
it just sounds expensive.
No, it's expensive on the engineering side. It's probably not expensive on the doable side.
Yeah.
Especially if they're going to build out this whole van anyway. I mean, hell, my Prius generates electricity charges the batteries by slowing down by me initiating the brakes.
Right.
How can I not just tap into that?
Right.
But
it's really trickle charging though.
Yeah, it's trickle charging, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Between solar and trickle charging. And if you're a van lifer anyway, a climber, a fly fisher, a kayaker, you're in the mountains anyway. So you're going to be riding them brakes anyway. Act like you're not going to. So
that's definitely true.
It's really is only a issue if you're a van lifer in an urban environment living in a stop and go situation. Like, there's just not enough downhill. There's not enough situations where you would need to ride a brake and, those brakes are not like your traditional brake pads. Like the energy generating helps slow the car down. From my understanding, if I am completely wrong and there's a mechanic out there, please correct me. But from what I understand, that's how it works. Now, I think that is how we could get that to work with an electric van. I'm with you. I'm a little skeptical of an fully electric van just because how far off the grid we like to go.
Right.
Now, what I would be for is like having a gasoline tank that I could flip on manually or automatically when the battery system gets low enough.
Right.
It just automatically flips on, and that gasoline system then charges the battery.
Yes. Because then you have a generator built in basically to charge your car battery.
Absolutely. Because my thought is, it will take less gas to charge the system than it would take gas to run the system.
Right.
From my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. So cool. Okay. So now we're talking connectivity, electricity. We've kind of talked about a little bit of Back to the Future and Into the Future. Okay, now we just need to figure out how to put goddamn flex capacitor in there, and then we're set.
Time traveling van life.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
That's the ultimate.
No, dude, that would turn out so bad. I could just see it now. Could you just imagine a dirtbag getting out and Genghis Kong is around? He's like, bro, dude, I got some Molly. You want to hang out? I know. I just like stereotyped every van lifer. I'm so sorry. And episode 19 comes out on Tuesday.
For the record, I do not have a man bun.
Oh my God. But yeah, Tuesday's episode comes out because we're recording this on the 7th of February. And and those are a bunch of van lifers and dirtbaggers. And all of those are wonderful people.
Oh, yeah. All great people.
But okay, so I think we've kind of hit all the bases. I think the last thing is realistically, I would say is suspension, and that's really depends on where you're going. If you're in an urban environment, like you don't need, in my opinion, you don't always need 4-wheel drive.
No.
Rear wheel drive will get you 95% of the places you want to get.
I prefer front wheel drive.
Really? Well, I prefer front wheel drive because of snow and ice conditions.
Exactly.
But then if with rear wheel drive, if you're like traveling
or
anywhere,
towing is really where rear wheel drive is really good.
I think if you're in a situation where you wish you had 4-wheel drive, all you need is a locking diff. Like if you can get a locking diff,
for sure.
Diff, then you're done.
Right.
Yeah, because like 4-wheel drive is, unless you're rock crawling, like really you don't need it.
Yeah, and a lot of the and even all-wheel drive is nice. Like I wish my van had all-wheel drive.
Really, I don't think it's necessary.
I mean, it's a little bit better traction when you're in the snow and stuff, but. And a lot of the new transits they have all-wheel drive.
But that's only if you're not I don't know. I grew up in the Northeast, so front-wheel drive is easier to manage when you're fishtailing. All-wheel drive, like if you start fishtailing, you're screwed.
You're fucked.
Yeah, you're totally screwed. So like you want front-wheel drive because it's easier to control to fishtail. But all-wheel drive, I mean, you might as well just like put your seatbelt on and just pray to Jesus because you're done.
Ooh, I could not imagine going downhill on Colorado mountains.
Yeah, you want front wheel drive.
Oh man.
Yeah, you want front wheel drive because you want to turn into the fish. It's like It's like drifting. Like people, you don't turn away from the drift. You turn into the drift.
Right.
That's how you make it work.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of like let it go. But for the most part, like I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. But that's a whole nother thing. But I think you just have to determine what kind of activities you're doing, and that will determine your suspension. My suspension is pretty rugged just because I like to go to far unknown, off beaten path places to go rock climb, and they're usually a pain in the ass to get to. And I want to be like Ricky Bobby and drive fast when I want to. And
I've seen people adding these sumo springs to their vans.
What is a sumo spring?
So my van, say like I'm pulling into a gas station or even like some kind of rocky terrain or whatever, your van kind of wobbles back and forth. So the sumo springs help it to not do that as much, and it also helps when you're on the freeway, so you don't get the wind pushing you back and forth. Oh, okay. It makes it a lot harder to control your vehicle.
Okay, I get what you're talking.
So like sometimes I'll pull into wherever, and it's kind of a rocky pull in, and you're like kind of rocking back and forth. I'll have to like fully brake so that my van doesn't shake and like all my stuff flies everywhere. So I'm actually thinking about making that upgrade soon.
Okay. Ballpark of that?
I think they're $250, if I'm not mistaken.
Per wheel?
I think you can get 2 for $250.
Oh,
so you can get it on the back. I think it's more common on the back.
So we're talking like $750 plus installation.
Yeah, if you do all 4. Yeah. They're not too hard to install. You just
I'm into that. I'm into that. Okay, I'm bitching. Well, okay. All right, so we've definitely gotten a little lengthy here. So,
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of want to bring this a little bit to a close, but like this has been like the purpose of this podcast was really to be educational, and I really wanted to inspire people. If you're thinking about doing the van life, like this is just kind of like an unfiltered, real conversation of like the shit that goes on and the thoughts that go into it, and I definitely want to do another conversation of this, like a little bit more in depth. But
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
I would really love is for all of our listeners, if you have been considering the van life or the car life or any kind of build out or anything in your car, I'm going to make it available for you guys to just bombard me with questions on the gram. When this episode posts, we will have a little, you know how Instagram stories do that thing where you can ask questions.
Yeah.
I'll also make it available, and we will get together and we'll do another show, maybe a live show. We'll figure out those details, but we want to answer all your questions and know that we will most likely consolidate all them into the what majority of the answers will be, and we'll do our best to get all those answers to you. And if we don't know the answers, we'll find them. And if we're not, we'll send you to the people who most likely have them.
Absolutely.
That's it. But, before we get out of here, I've been recently asked to a couple questions and to like kind of throw out a couple more questions to my guests. But are you a big reader? I should have asked you this earlier.
I'm really big into Audible.
Nice.
I listen to a lot of books. I read the internet. I don't read books.
Okay. So is there a book or anything that you have gifted, or a book that you like read pretty regularly? Like I read the book called The Sweet Spot by Christine Carter every year. It's kind of something that helps ground me. Is there a book that you've read recently, or a book that you've recommended to other people that you would really just resonates with you? It doesn't have to do with anything or the conversation that we're talking about.
I would say not necessarily one particular book, but anything by Alan Watts will really open up your mind and make you think about life differently.
Okay, I'm into that. Okay. Nice. That's rad. Okay, Alan Watts. And then do you want to give any shout outs to anybody? Say hello, mantra, anything, just kind of basically just, say hi to the world, or give a homie a shout.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's your moment, man. Dude, the mic is hot.
I mean, I want to thank everybody for supporting what I do and being interested in my growth in how I do it. If it wasn't for other people saying stuff, I probably wouldn't be building vans for a living.
Amen.
And if you want to give me a follow on Instagram, my Instagram handle is tiny.nomad.conversions. And I can answer any questions you might have about van life.
Bitchin'. Well, Chaz, thank you for being my guest. And
Thanks for having me.
Drop that. Yeah, feel the funk, y'all. Yeah, feel the funk, y'all. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode and you are inspired to get your own van. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this podcast. It definitely helps us out. And join our sticker club, which is $5 a month. I'll send you a little things like buy me a beer and we can hang out, become besties, living the best life. Once again, thank you so much. And remember, if you're not suffering, are you really sending it all?